flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear that music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth, it liveth. What though the darkness round me close? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging, since love is Lord of heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble, sick with fear, and hear their death knells ringing. When friends rejoice, both far and near, how can I keep from singing? In prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
Well, in case you didn't know, that was Pete Seeger singing, and he co-wrote the lyrics to that hymn that we have in our hymnal. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Unitarian Coastal Fellowship. As Unitarian Universalists, we are people of all races, ages, national origins, abilities, gender identities, sexual orientations, and classes. We believe that diversity is strength, and that we're called to work toward a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. I'm Barb Thomas, and with me is Karen Baggett, and we're your worship leaders this morning. We're joined by our accompanist and collaborator, Megan Smith. Mark Hooper, Ron White, and Jason Pesh will be accompanying us on some of the music today. And we have Harriet Altman and Susan Roberts on tech, and thanks to them. This morning's service is a reprise of a service Karen and I did back in 2015. Pete Seeger had died at the age of 94 about a year before that service, and we wanted to honor his memory. Pete was a folk singer who wrote some of our most beloved folk songs, but he was also a leading activist for issues like First Amendment rights, cleaning up the environment, especially the Hudson River, civil rights, and world peace. He used his music to promote these causes, and he set an example by the way he lived his life. One of the many things that we love about Pete Seeger is that he always encouraged his audiences to sing along with him. He loved nothing more than to get everyone singing. It wasn't about him, it was about making a difference through music. Now, are there any newcomers here today? First-time visitors, or, okay. Any? Okay, familiar faces. We worship in person as well as on Zoom, so let's extend a special welcome to our Zoom visitors. Hi. Okay. And now Miriam Green, Board Secretary, has some announcements for us. Don't run, take your time.
What, Ron? No, gotcha. Good morning. Good morning. Please join Adult Spiritual Enrichment and Green Sanctuary tomorrow for our first Meatless Monday get-together in 2024. We will be decorating the social hall in red and gold for the Chinese New Year, which is the year of the dragon. Whoa! As always, please bring a meatless dish to share. Contact Holly Rogers or Lauren Donacci for RSVP or for questions. We are having an M-Book service this coming Wednesday at 6 p.m. M-Book is a Wiccan Sabbat that heralds the coming of spring and the birth of lambs. Who knew? Help cast a ritual circle to honor your goddess and contemplate on manifesting your desires through singing, drumming, and meditation. Bring a candle to be purified by the four elements to set an intention into the universe. Candles will be available to those who cannot provide their own. Blessed be. The sixth film in our 2023-24 social justice film series, Misrepresentation, that's M-I-S-S, representation, will be shown on Thursday, February 8th at 6:30 in our sanctuary. Written and directed by Jennifer Newsom, Misrepresentation exposes how mainstream media contributes to the underrepresentation of women in positions of power and influence in America. Please see our February Coastline newsletter for more details on the film itself. And now we invite all those in the sanctuary to silence their cell phones, and all those on Zoom, please turn off your cameras to conserve bandwidth. Now, please turn and greet one another.
These opening words are from Pete Seeger. Once upon a time, wasn't singing a part of everyday life as much as talking or physical exercise or religion? Our distant ancestors, wherever they were in this world, sang while pounding grain, paddling canoes, or walking long journeys. Can we make our lives once more all of a piece? Finding the right songs and singing them over and over is a way to start. When one person taps out a beat, while another leads into the melody, or when three people discover a harmony they never knew existed, or a crowd joins in on a chorus, as though to raise the ceiling a few feet higher, which we will do later this morning, then they also know there is hope for the world. Come, let us worship together.
Today's chalice lighting is by Maureen Killeran. In these hard times, let us look first to the response of love. In the midst of challenge, may our chalice flame bear witness to the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. In the midst of uncertainty, may our chalice be a beacon of encouragement that our values may guide our choices. Let us look first to the response of love. Okay. And we also light a peace candle to remind ourselves that peace is a process that requires work, that peace is not merely an absence of conflict, but the presence of justice.
For our time for all ages this morning, we have a story that was written by Pete Seeger. And
No?
No? Oh,
For our opening hymn.
I need more guidance.
You're
Barb.
Karen and I'm Barb.
All right. I'll try and remember that. Okay, for our opening hymn, we are going to sing Turn, Turn, Turn. Many of you may remember this song, which was a big hit in the 60s for a group called The Byrds. The words are adapted from the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible, and the music is by Pete Seeger. Please stand as you are willing and able. Before the piano starts, when we finish a verse and go back to the chorus, I will count 3 measures and then bring you in for the chorus. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to be, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to love, a time to hate, a time for war, a time for peace, a time you may embrace, a time to read, proud.
I know, that was great. That was a great job. Okay, for our time for all ages this morning, we have a treat. We have a story that was written by Pete Seeger, and he performed it on the Reading Rainbow program. And give Harriet a minute, because we had a lot of technical difficulties with the videos today, but I think she's got it. She'll get it going. See if you can guess who the other person in the video is.
All kinds of books can be used for storytelling. Now, Abiyoyo is a book you can sing, which makes perfect sense because it was written by a folk singer, Mr. Pete Seeger, who's here with us today. Hi, Pete.
Hi.
Pete, tell us where you got the idea to write the book, Abiyoyo.
Oh, quite unintentional. I was singing a lullaby to my kids about 35 years ago. And, kids get about 3 years old and they discover that lullabies are propaganda songs.
Propaganda?
Oh, they don't want to go to sleep. They howled me down. No, write a story. So I compromised, as one does in this world. I said, okay, I'll figure out a story, but I'll sing you the song too. Based on a South African lullaby and folk story. Text by Pete Seeger. Illustrations by Michael Hayes. Spoken and sung by me, Pete Seeger. Once upon a time, there was a little boy who played the ukulele. Around town he'd go. Clink, clink, clunk. Clink, clink, clunk. The grown-ups will say, "Take that thing out of here!" Not only that, the boy's father got in trouble. The boy's father was a magician. He had a magic wand. He'd go, swoop, swoop, and make things disappear. But he played too many tricks on people. He'd come up to someone about to drink a nice cold glass of something. Zoop! The glass disappears. Someone doing a hard job of work. Up comes the father with his magic wand. No saw! He'd come up to someone about to sit down after a hard day's work. No chair.
That's not funny. Yeah, right. Get out of town.
People said to their father, "You get out of here too. Take your magic wand and your tricks, and you and your son just get." And the boy and his father were ostracized. That means they made him live on the edge of town. Now in this town they used to tell stories. The old people used to tell stories about the giants that lived in the old days. They used to tell a story about a giant called Abiyoyo. He said he was as tall as a tree and could eat people up. Of course, nobody believed the story, but they told it anyway. One day, the sun rose blood red over the hill. The first people got up and looked out the window. They saw a great big shadow in front of the sun, and they could feel the whole ground shake. Women screamed. Strong men fainted. Run for your lives! Abiyoyo's coming! He comes to the sheep pasture. He grabs a whole sheep. He comes to the cow pasture. He grabs a whole cow. Grab your most precious possessions and run! Run! Just then, the boy and his father woke up. Hey, Paul, what's coming over the field? Why, son, that's not yo-yo. Oh, if only I could get him to lie down, I could make him disappear. The boy says, come with me, Paul. He grabs his father by one hand. The father gets the magic wand. The boy gets his ukulele. They run across the fields. People yell, don't go there! He'll eat you alive! Long fingernails, because he never cut them. He had slobbery teeth, because he didn't brush them. Stinking feet, because he didn't wash them. He raised up with his claws. Just then the boy whips out his ukulele. You know the giant had never heard a song about himself before. And a foolish grin spread over the giant's face. And the giant started to dance. Faster! The giant got out of breath. He staggered. He fell down on the ground. Up steps the father. Uncle Yo-Yo disappeared. He's gone! People ran across the fields. They lifted the boy and his father up on their shoulders. They say, come back to town, bring your darn ukulele, we don't care anymore. And they all sang, ah-yo-yo, 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 and that's the story of Yo-Yo.
Great story, Pete. I think I like the disappearing part the best.
I'm glad you said that.
How come?
Oh, LeVar Burton. Yeah, Reading Rainbow. In our yeah. Yeah. In our sacred space of joys and concerns, the trials and tribulations of life are more manageable when shared, and our joys will multiply when shared as well. I invite you to our stones and water ritual. We line up over by the wall and select stones or shells to represent our joys and concerns from the basket and gently place them into this chalice of water. Should you wish to share a personal joy or concern about a person in your life, there is a paper to fill out and place in the basket on the way to the chalice. And after our ritual, I will read these personal joys and concerns to the congregation. This stone is for greetings brought by Susan Fetzer. Brings thanks and greetings from Tom Wentworth and Linda Rudd, whom she visited this week in Raleigh. This stone is for Aiden Pesh. I don't think he's here today. Aiden. Got principal's list. Yay. Congratulations. This is unsigned, but it's for a dear friend's mother who has cancer. And this stone is for Happy Eubank, who is pleased to be back home at Carteret Landing feeling much stronger after rehab. For joys shared, we join you in celebration. For the sorrows and concerns shared here, may you feel our sympathy and compassion. For all that remains unspoken, both joy and sorrow, may the caring of our community offer you both kindness and hope. And now we will sing the younger children out with the blessing song. It's a blessing you were born, and it matters what you do. What we know about God is a piece of the truth. May the beauty you love be what you do, and you don't have to do it alone. It's a blessing I was born, and it matters what I do. What I know about God is a piece of the truth. May the beauty you love be what I do, and we don't have to do it alone. It's a blessing we were born, and it matters what we do. What we know about God is a piece of the truth. The beauty we love be what we do, and we don't have to do it alone.
And now we invite you into a time of silent meditation. I'll start with a few short and very positive quotes from Pete Seeger, and we'll have silence, and then music will follow the silence. A good song reminds us what we're fighting for. The world will be solved by millions of small things. The key to the future of the world is finding the optimistic stories and letting them be known. Participation, that's what's going to save the human race. Our message this morning is in two parts. We're going to be talking about Pete Seeger. I'm going to talk a little about his work for First Amendment rights, and then Karen will talk about his environmental work. We go to that slide. During the 1930s and 40s, Pete Seeger strongly supported the labor union movement, as well as advocating for peace and racial equality. His music reflected these views, and he always believed that songs could help people achieve these goals. In 1942, he became a member of the American Communist Party, a party which, at that time, played a prominent role in all these causes. In spite of his anti-war stance, after Pearl Harbor in 1942, he was drafted and willingly served in the Army during World War II, supporting the war effort with his music and entertaining the troops. The picture behind me shows Seeger singing at the Washington Labor Canteen in 1944. First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt is sitting at the middle of the picture enjoying the music. During World War II, these canteens opened all over the country to provide food, drink, and entertainment for the troops. They were sponsored by organizations and businesses, and this one was in Washington, D.C., and was sponsored by a prominent labor union. It was one of the only canteens that was racially integrated. After the war, with revelations of Joseph Stalin's atrocities, Seeger became increasingly disillusioned with Soviet communism and left the Communist Party in 1949. In the late 1940s and 50s, the U.S. experienced a Red Scare, quotes, with the Cold War developing and lots of paranoia about communist infiltration in our country. In 1950, the Motion Picture Industry Council listed 151 writers, directors, and performers who they claimed had been members of subversive organizations, and Pete Seeger was included on that list. Right after the list was released, the Korean War broke out, and most of those on the list were blacklisted. Seeger was playing in a popular folk group called the Weavers at that time and had a television contract with NBC, which was immediately canceled. Pete Seeger remained banned from television until the late 1960s. In 1955, Seeger was subpoenaed, along with many others, to appear before the House Un-American Activities Committee, often called the McCarthy Committee, for questioning. Most of those who were called evoked the Fifth Amendment, refusing to answer questions on the grounds that they might incriminate themselves. These witnesses were excused and had no legal repercussions, but they did remain blacklisted. However, Pete Seeger felt compelled not to use the Fifth Amendment, saying he had not committed any criminal acts and therefore could not incriminate himself. He chose instead to stand on the First Amendment, freedom of speech and assembly, in spite of being told by his lawyer that by refusing to answer questions on First Amendment grounds, he could be held in contempt of Congress and sentenced to a year in prison for every charge. At his hearing, Seeger was repeatedly asked questions about where and for whom he had performed, his membership in the Communist Party, and his political beliefs. He said, quote, "I am not going to answer any questions as to my association, my philosophical or religious beliefs, or my political beliefs, or how I voted in any election, or any of these private affairs. I think these are very improper questions for any American to be asked, especially under such compulsion as this," unquote. When asked again about specific groups he may have sung for, he replied, quote, "I have sung to many audiences. I have sung in hobo jungles, and I've sung for the Rockefellers. I've never refused to sing for anyone. That's the only answer I can give. I'm proud I've sung for Americans of every political persuasion." And finally, as the questioning continued, in spite of Seeger's continued refusal to answer questions which he considered violated his First Amendment rights, he said, quote, "I feel that in my whole life I have never done anything of any conspiratorial nature, and I resent very much and very deeply the implication of being called before this committee that in some way, because my opinions may be different from yours, that I am any less of an American than anyone else. I love my country very dearly, and I greatly resent the implication that some of the places that I have sung and some of the people that I have known and some of my opinions, whether they are religious or philosophical, make me less of an American," unquote. In 1956, the House of Representatives voted almost unanimously to cite Seeger for contempt. At his trial in March 1961, he was found guilty and sentenced to 12 months in prison. However, an appeals court dismissed the case, and he never served any prison time. The negative publicity surrounding this case, as well as his being banned from TV appearances, hurt Seeger's career, which didn't really bother him much. He didn't seek or thrive on fame. He just enjoyed being able to sing for and with people, to stand up for the causes he believed in, and to live a simple life. He continued to do appearances at schools, colleges, and other small venues. His concerts were often picketed by the John Birch Society and other right-wing groups. Seeger later recalled, "All those protests did was sell tickets and get me free publicity. The more they protested, the bigger the audiences became." In the mid-'60s, Seeger returned to local television, and in 1968, the Smothers Brothers, remember them? Ended his national TV blacklisting by having him on their show to sing his controversial anti-Vietnam song, "Waist Deep in the Big Muddy." In later years, Pete Seeger was an icon, beloved by the folk community. He's probably most remembered now for his work to save the Hudson River, but his courage and dignity in standing up to the House Un-American Activities Committee when he could have taken the easy way out and pled the Fifth separated him from many of his peers. And now Karen will tell us a little about the Clearwater.
I have something to add to Barb's, and I don't remember what country it was, but Pete Seeger was playing somewhere, I believe, in Europe, and he was told that he could not sing a certain song. "You may not sing this song." And he said, "Okay, I won't sing that song." And he got so far along in the concert, and he said to the audience, "Strum, strum, strum, I think you know this song." And everybody else sang it, but he didn't. So, what follows is a story by Dana Lyons. When I was a child growing up near the Hudson River in upstate New York, Pete Seeger and the crew of the Hudson River sloop Clearwater organized our entire region to clean up the Hudson. Thousands of classes of elementary school students sailed on the Clearwater and helped. By the time I was in high school, you could swim in it. Pete Seeger was one of the great human beings, one of the great generous world citizens. To my knowledge, he answered all his mail, including letters from teenagers like myself. He listened to every cassette tape of music submitted to him on his Walkman, remember those? While he ice skated in winter. He flooded the parking area outside of his kitchen every winter. Pete Seeger changed the world, and he also changed me. Thanks, Pete. End quote. And you can find a video on YouTube of Pete skating in the backyard rink that he created in front of his home where he lived with his wife, Toshi. In 1966, Pete, who had become known for his folk, I call him Pete, who had become known for his folk music and environmental activism, began to despair over the pollution of his beloved Hudson River. He announced plans to build a boat to save the river. Seeger, along with many other concerned individuals, believed that a majestic replica of the sloops that sailed the Hudson in the 18th and 19th centuries would bring people to the river, where they could experience its beauty and be moved to preserve it. In order to raise funds to build the sloop, Seeger and his friends played dockside concerts up and down the river, passing the banjo case for donations. Beginning with the Hudson Valley Folk Picnic in Garrison, New York, these fundraising concerts became crucial to sustaining Clearwater operations for years to come. As awareness of his vision grew, so did the crowds. So in 1969, after just a few years of fundraising concerts, the 106-foot sloop Clearwater was launched at the Harvey Gamage Shipyard in South Bristol, Maine. On her maiden voyage, she sailed to South Street Seaport in New York City and then ultimately made her home on the Hudson River. The concerts were eventually replaced with the Clearwater Festival in 1978. The much-beloved festival, also known as the Great Hudson River Revival, grew to be one of the country's oldest and largest annual music and environmental festivals, award-winning for its zero-waste program, which has been modeled at many festivals around the country. Clearwater created the blueprint for many other groups to follow. Clearwater was the first environmental group to focus on an entire river and its ecosystem, the first wooden sailing ship with a mission to preserve and protect the environment, and the first on-board environmental classroom accessible to children of all ages, races, and backgrounds. Today, there are several boats and organizations around the world doing environmental work and educating people using Clearwater's hands-on method of teaching. It all started with a desire to clean up a troubled Hudson River and a vision for an iconic ship. And through song and determination, Clearwater has made a remarkable impact in the environmental movement. Through decades of local organizing, Clearwater equipped Hudson River Valley communities with the most important resource to become active stewards of their environment: knowledge. In 1969, Clearwater gathered thousands of signatures calling for the cleanup and protection of our nation's waterways, including the foully polluted Hudson River. On April 14, 1970, the Clearwater set sail from New York City, headed for Washington, D.C., to take part in the very first Earth Day celebrations on April 22nd. Although they were among the last to perform at the Earth Day rally, the following day, Pete Seeger and others were scheduled to perform at an event hosted by Congressman William Ryan, D.N.Y. Before the public and members of Congress, Seeger sang the introduction to a multimedia performance that had included a slideshow contrasting images of the 1850s Hudson with the polluted river of 1970. Accompanied by music, singing, dance, and acting, the Washington Post called the performance stunning and frightening. Clearwater Executive Director Michael Misanowski closed by calling for federal standards and funding to clean up the Hudson and America's other polluted waterways. This event is credited with turning the tide in favor of comprehensive federal regulations, which ultimately resulted in the passage of the Clean Water Act in 1972, 52 years ago. In 2004, the sloop Clearwater was named to the National Register of Historic Places for its groundbreaking role in the environmental movement. Thank you, Pete, and the many who came before you and after you, and some who are among us here, for your passionate efforts to turn the tide and create a cleaner, healthier world in so many ways. Every month we share the plate with a different charity or nonprofit organization, meaning half of everything that goes into the offering plate that isn't a pledge is shared with that charity or nonprofit. This month, we're sharing the plate with the NAACP Scholarship Fund, Every year, the NAACP gives out 3 to 4 college scholarships to Carteret County students who meet their criteria of financial need, academic achievement, leadership, and community service. Your donations directly benefit the youth of this county, so please give generously. While our greeters are collecting the offering, Ron, Jason, and Mark will play "This Land Is Your Land," and we will sing along, so please remain seated. The words will be on the screen. I now invite the greeters forward. Thank you. Microphone. 2, 3. This land is your land. This land is your land. From California to the Oregon, from the river as I've Let's see.
The greeters are bringing the...
Yeah. It's your turn.
All right, please join in blessing this offering. Wait a minute. This offering with hymn number 402, From You I Receive, and we'll sing it twice. Harriet, slide. Uh-huh.
Together we share.
Okay. Please join us in reading the words on the screen as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. Ready? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now in Español, extinguimos esta llama para no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad, o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón hasta que estemos juntos otra vez.
Well, you knew this was coming. Please stand as you are willing and able to sing one of the best-known Pete Seeger songs, If I Had a Hammer. And to make Pete happy, let's really raise the roof on this one. They are going to play 3 chords, and I forgot that part.
Okay, please remain standing and form our circles, touch elbows or hands for our benediction. Oh, thank you. Wow. Okay. One big circle, that's good. Pete said, "I've never sung anywhere without giving the people listening to me a chance to join in. As a kid, as a lefty, as a man touring the USA and the world, as an oldster. I guess it's kind of a religion with me. Participation. That's what's going to save the human race. Go in peace, return in love, sing whenever you get the chance. Blessed be." Forgot to say, get your coffee if you want it, and we're going to come back here for coffee with the board and the search team.
And the board has a draft mission statement that we want to share with you. I don't know if you remember last March and April, we talked at Coffees with the Board about the UCF mission and draft statement. And it was the consensus of that group and Coffee with the Board that we not start completely from scratch, but have a small group, and that was designated to be the board, come up with a draft to present to the congregation as a revision of a review and revision of mission and vision statements that were adopted 10 years ago in 2013. So this morning I want to present to you the draft mission statement that the board came up with. We need your input because we couldn't decide on the word. So we'll go to slide 2, Susan, or Barb. Okay, this is what we came up with. And if you want to know what the the mission statement is now, go to ucfnc.org, and in the pull-down menu About Us, you can see the original mission statement. The one that we're replacing is very long. So this is what we came up with. Centered in love, UCF, and this is where we needed help. We could decide whether to use the word covenants or promises or agrees. But centered in love, UCF promises to live compassionately, grow spiritually, advance justice. So, any discussion on the wording? Which one you prefer?
I like covenants because it makes you feel like it's a group of people.
Okay. Covenant.
Covenants is a very Unitarian word to use.
Right.
We know ourselves as being covenantal.
As being a covenantal faith rather than a creedal faith. And a covenant is a promise. So that's why we use the word promise as an alternative. Yes.
I will just say, I don't have a problem with the word covenant, but that is also a word that's strongly used in Mormonism as well. So we don't know. It's a little scary. But no, it means something completely different here, really. I mean, similar, but also very different because it doesn't come with the same weight as a high command religion.
Okay. And I grew up a Methodist, and I remember the Ark of the Covenant, and Moses went up on the mountain and was given this Ark of the Covenant, which is promises that God made to the people of Israel.
So what does everybody think that other non-UU people reading it would think covenant meant?
Okay. Let me say one quick thing. We have Zoom people here, so either
okay.
Susan has to repeat what everybody
can-
says, or we have to use the mic.
Okay.
Here you go, Miriam. Say it again.
So what does anybody think people, non-UU people are going to think when they read covenant?
Promises is easier for the general public.
It might even loosen up. I don't know how to explain it. Get people to be more likely.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait for the mic, okay, Jason.
Thanks, Penny.
Here you go, Jason.
I was just gonna say, and like if we use words that aren't kind of like tied to, I guess, religious nature, it might get people who aren't so religious to actually show up and come in, and that's what us on the worship team have been trying to figure out how to get more diversity in, and yeah. So like if people associate that word with religious, like extreme
They
religious or
bring
whatever,
trauma,
yeah,
religious.
yes, it could be, So that's just.
Okay. And Sandra Shelp has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sandy. There you go, Misty.
Yeah, I think the word covenant has a lot of baggage with it.
Okay. Can I let her say again about Mormonism? It just
For Zoom people that didn't hear me, I was just saying that covenant is a
word that is used a lot in Mormonism, in lots of different ways of like, a lot of their like temple like promises your covenant like pretty much your like whole life to Mormonism, and they use that word to like stay on the covenant path, like that one and only path. And so it is, yeah, so it's kind of like scary to hear that word in such a open, not such a high demand religion, but still using that word. But like I also said, we don't have a problem with it. It's okay if it's used.
Okay. You can give it new meaning.
Here you go, Sarah.
I guess, yeah, for me, the promises and agrees to, it just isn't as strong. Like, I feel like those things can be broken, unfortunately. But I agree, covenant maybe is too strong, maybe has some traumatic meaning.
Maybe vows?
That's what I was going to say. More of like when you're getting married, you're vowing together as a group to do something. So I thought that would be a better word.
Vows. We hadn't thought of that word. Okay, Mark has his hand up.
Now that I look at this, I'd like to have it say centered in love and hope, because we're hoping, we haven't really done all those things. We're hoping to do those things better than we are now. So I wouldn't mind a little hope in there.
Okay.
I like that too. Centered in love and hope. UCF vows to live compassionately, grow spiritually, and advance justice.
Okay.
Vows is a nice alternative. There you go.
I like the word covenant because that's what Unitarians use, and I don't, while I understand trying to make it more friendly for non-Unitarians, I think we should be ourselves. And I think that word is part of being ourselves.
Okay. Now, we do have a third statement also. If you go and look at the website, we have a mission statement, a vision statement, and a covenant. And the covenant is how we promise to behave with each other and with the world. So there is a covenant there also, which we haven't looked at revising.
Just throwing it out, I also like a vow as opposed to vow. UCF vows to.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we're going to continue discussing this. Does anybody have any other things to say right now? Holly, we haven't heard from.
Holly, sorry.
I'm going to join Susan. I think avows is a great word to use.
Avows. A vow. A-V-O-W instead of vows. And Jackie again.
I was thinking of what someone said is about us working to do these things more and better. And so I thought maybe the word seeks to, or something like that.
Seeks, a vow.
Centered in love, UCS seeks to live compassionately.
I like that too. All right. Good discussion.
The origin of the word covenant is a French Latin term. It doesn't go back to the Greek, or maybe it does. And it just means agreement.
Agreement?
Yeah.
I don't like agree. I just wanted to put that out there. Down on agree.
All right. Well, we'll talk about it more. My newsletter article that I submitted this week in the Coastline, it comes out on February 1st, also has this in the discussion and links to the website so you can look at the current mission statement. The board also, in our mission meeting, looked at the vision statement, which is slide 3, and we decided to leave it as is. This is our current vision statement. Our congregation's vision is to be a visible presence in the community, growing a just world through spiritual enrichment, compassionate action, and free religious inquiry. And we voted just to leave that as is. Any discussion on that?
It's on the back of your
Right.
for today, along with our covenant.
Okay. All right, good. Seems that most people here agree with leaving it as is. Okay. So we'll work on that word in the mission statement and come up with something. The mission and vision statement are not part of our bylaws, but it looks like from that we did have some kind of a vote and agreement on this in 2013. It says that this was adopted by the congregation in January of 2013. So there must have been a special meeting to make that decision. I think Barb and Penny were on that group that helped to spearhead the writing of our current mission and vision. And so, anybody have a remembrance of how that was done 11 years ago?
I think there was another reason to have a January meeting. I'm not sure what it was, but it wasn't only this.
Okay.
And we were meeting for something else, and we had spent a tremendous amount of time on it, and wordsmithing is difficult, as you all know, and we were happy that the congregation, voted unanimously to live by that. It was
right.
Yeah.
And I hope that this mission statement, we looked at the current mission statement and felt like this draft embodied many of the things that are in the current mission statement, just much briefer, so that hopefully we can remember them and not have a mission statement that's
2
3
pages
paragraphs
long.
But, and I must say that I know working on mission and vision statements for the hospital where I worked for 31 years, that they seem to go through phases of styles and what's supposed to be in a mission statement and what's not. So this is more like the current style of mission statements that are recommended.
Part of your elevator speech is
Right.
what they say now.
Right.
How do you convince someone to come to church with you? Well, tell them what your mission is and be able to say it instead of
Yeah.
have to read it.
Okay, I'm going to turn this over to the search committee. I can be Vanna for a while.
Good afternoon. I think it's afternoon, barely. So I just wanted to say one thing about the vision and mission statement. Sometimes we go through these processes and it's just kind of like lip service. You need to have a statement, so you make a statement. But these are really used, at least in my experience with the social justice group, is every time someone proposes something, let's go do something new, it's judged against the vision and mission statements. Is this project consistent or not? So it's really a useful tool. It's a very useful tool. Now on to the search committee. Hi. There were 5 of us who were nominated and elected by this congregation in June of last year to represent us to find a full-time contract minister to start work in August of 2024. Thank you for your trust. In addition to me, Miriam Green, there is on the committee Tom Cullison, who is currently in Hawaii, Amy Jones, who's currently on a cruise. See what happens when you're a member of the search committee. And then the lowly Penny Hooper, Sarah Grenier, and me. So I'm going to briefly review our process that we use, and then Sarah and Penny have a few words to say. There are many different types of ministers in the world of UU. The ones we are most familiar with are, we'll start with Reverend Micah, who is our interim minister and who will be leaving. Her contract is over in July of this year. And she even has her walking stick, noisy walking stick, up here to remind us that her time here is limited. Then another familiar minister is the settled minister. Those of you who remember Reverend Sally White, she was a settled minister. She was here, and settled ministers are, for as long as it suits the minister and the congregation. So Sally was here for about 18 years, and then she retired and moved on. So then there is a contract minister, which is a minister we would hire for a short period of time, usually 1 year, sometimes 2 years. And then at the end of that contract period, it's over, and you make a decision whether you want to propose another contract or even move to be a settled minister. We are hoping that the contract minister that we find will eventually be our settled minister, but of course we don't know, and we have the flexibility there. The reason we're looking for a contract minister instead of a settled minister is that the people at the UUA, our headquarters, told us we would likely have more candidates if we chose the path of contract minister. Plus, the process for a contract minister has a lot more flexibility than the process for a settled minister. So we are using the kind of meets minimum process for a contract minister, and then adding things that we think were important from the settled ministry process. Those things include the congregational survey that we did, if y'all remember, it was a long time ago. It also includes cottage meetings. We didn't have to do any of that, but we're trying to do the best job that we can for you to find the very best next minister for UCF. And also consistent with doing all those extra things is the hope that we'll find somebody who's not only a great contract minister but can move to be a settled minister. So, and interim ministers like Reverend Micah usually work for a congregation for 2 years. We're lucky to have Reverend Micah here for a third year, but that year is up in July. The search team has met weekly for about 5 months. There was a lot to learn and a lot to do, and gazillions of documents to prepare and find and research and get ready to allow interested parties, ministers who are in search, to use those to get to know our congregation. So we did that for 5 months. Now we're goofing off and we're only meeting about every other week. So things have slacked off just a little bit. We have a covenant, we have a calendar of events, we have a congregational profile, we have a large collection of additional documents describing UCF, and we have a proposed contract. You have participated in a congregational survey and in cottage meetings. Thank you all. All of this information either is available now or will be available in the future for you. This is a time on the calendar when we expect to receive interest in UCF from candidates, and we conduct Zoom meetings. We identify the perfect match, and we take that match to the board and request approval to proceed with contract negotiations. Earlier, a few months ago, we announced that we had our very first candidate, and we're still saying that. We're not able to speak more about that due to confidentiality requirements and privacy requirements that we are under. There are ministers out there in search who have not told their congregation that they are interested in leaving. That's one of the key reasons why there's so much confidentiality involved in how nobody can talk about anything until we have a contract signed and we have agreement with the new minister or proposed minister that it's okay to start talking about it. So those are really important things. Now, Penny will discuss a couple of documents that we have, and Sarah will give an update on our calendar. Then we'll open it up to questions and comments. Thank you.
This will be very quick. The only things that I needed to tell you about were that the profile that we shared on the UUA website has a link to it that has been in the Wave and in the Breeze and all that, and it's posted in hard copy form back on the bulletin board. And this profile is 28 pages long. That profile is what the group of ministers would look at in terms of seeing whether or not they wanted to apply to our congregation for the job. So what do we look at? Well, we get the same kind of information from interested candidates that involves approximately 30 questions that they have to answer. It involves receiving sermons from them to review and a list of references to check. So once a candidate is identified as being interested in UCF, that's when the pace picks up for our committee, and we have to do all that. We do that, but we do not sign the contract. It then goes to the board, and the board makes the decision whether or not to offer the contract, and they will have at that point in time all the same information that we had to make that decision that this would be our best match. So those are the two documents that I wanted to just share with you. There's a profile of the church, there's a profile of the minister, and you try to bring them together. So, all right. And we'll take questions as soon as Sarah's done.
Good morning or afternoon. I feel like Miriam and Penny have kind of covered it, but just to reiterate, so Penny mentioned that dating profile that we have, the profile, it is available to review. So it is on the board and it's in the Coastline. And then, like Miriam said, we've met our timeline for what we had on the calendar for everything. That's why we met every week. We had to get those things wrapped up so we could get to this next fun phase. So we've met all of our deadlines, and then from here, like she said, it's confidential, so we can only share so much information, but we will let you know as soon as we can. Thank you.
Okay, we're ready for comments and questions, and if you would please use the mic, Penny will take it to, or Susan will take it to you.
I know you can't tell us about the applicants, but can you tell us how many applicants you have so far? And is this open until filled, or is there a deadline?
There's sort of a deadline. I think it's the end of March, when the calendar says you should have settled on your best candidate there, or whoever it is you want to hire. I forgot the rest of your question. Oh, how many? No. I'm not sure when we can talk about that. Probably eventually we'll be able to, but we're a little bit unsure about how far to take this confidentiality thing. So we're erring on the side of safety, caution. Yeah. Thanks for the question.
I mean, do you have any idea of how big the pool of applicants, overall?
Oh, yeah, I can say a few words about that. When we first started down this process, we were told that there were fewer ministers in search than ever before. And I think there was a real deficit during the pandemic a big number of ministers who didn't leave the ministry, but they left congregations. And they went into other areas of ministry, like on the staff or teaching or doing something else, but not as a part of congregations, not congregational life. So there are not many out there. I think I heard, golly Moses, 68 ministers who were in search for a contract. I think that's it. That's a U.S. number. So we're not talking big numbers.
How many congregations are in search?
Oh, 1,000? Something like that.
No. Really?
It's a big number.
A big number. Okay. So not
Let's see,
more congregations than ministers.
I was just doing the math. If if it's 1,000, that's, no.
That's
Okay,
half of the congregations, I think.
Okay. I might have that number wrong, but
Okay.
I'm sure it exists. Just Google it.
Hundreds, anyway.
Yes, hundreds. Okay.
Oh, Adam
Adam.
has a question.
You can sing your question, Adam.
I'm not sure you want that. Ow! I'm gonna pull James Brown. Ow! This may be out in left field. It is, but I'm not really up on the Unitarian way.
Okay.
I don't know how else to put it. I've been a part of so many other churches that there's a bit of trauma there, so I've not belonged to a church for a long time. And one of the things I really, really had a problem with in a lot of the fundamentalist type churches is the level of bureaucracy and but I know it's necessary. But one of the things about some of the smaller churches I was a part of that I really liked, and I'm just throwing it out there to see if this is even something. And I see it now. We had presentations today by Barb and Karen and everybody, and it's awesome. But there's such a wealth of experiences that people have that they can share. That even amidst the difficulties of finding a qualified, probably with the right credentials pastor, which is what you're seeking. Until that moment, is there room for people in the congregation that feel they would have the desire to do so, to lead a service and to share? I mean, I think I already know the answer, but that's a thing, right?
Oh, yeah. We're big believers in shared ministry.
Yeah.
That the minister is not, the top of the hierarchy. We are all the top of the hierarchy, and we share every role that exists in this in this church. We share the services, we share the food, we share the all the responsibilities, all the committees. It's all shared. So that's a big part of what we're looking for in our next minister as well.
And Miriam, isn't it true that most UU ministers who are full-time have one Sunday off each month?
Yes.
So
yes.
That's a service that
so
would be way less.
the minister is typically here 3 Sundays out of 4, and the 4th Sunday is if we want to have a service, which we certainly have in the past, we do it. Somebody else does it.
And the 5th
or we have a
Sundays,
guest.
they also have off, right? If there's 5 Sundays in a month.
Yes. So, okay. Did that address your question? Okay. Just checking. What else? Anybody? Karen?
When I think it's that the minister has one Sunday off a month, whether or not it's 4 weeks or 5 in the month, and
that'll be in the contract.
Yeah, but so we also pay guest speakers, but they're ministers 9 times out of 10. When we put together a program, we are not paid. We're volunteers. Not from me.
Oh no! Now all the volunteers are leaving. Yes, good point. Good point. So yeah, we have guest ministers. We can do a lot. As a matter of fact, we can help we can use the UUA a lot, or we can use them not much at all. There are some things we have to do. We have to report membership, but in terms of things like help with the search, we chose to use them because they know what they're doing. They're very helpful and very knowledgeable and very responsive. So we've had a number of question and answer sessions, and we have a good relationship with that transitions team, is what they're called. Yeah.
And the question about how many are in search in terms of the number of ministers and how many congregations, we can get that exact answer for you. All we have to do is write to Christine and she'll tell us. Yeah. So we'll get that by the next time we meet. Oh, excuse me.
Okay, so.
He's got a question. I know there's a question.
He's just looking it up on his phone to see what it is.
I just want to one more time thank the search committee for all the work they've done.
Oh, thank you. It's a really good team we have up here. There are lots of different things that we're good at. We're all very different people, but we work well together as a team. It's been just a real privilege for me to have such responsive and knowledgeable and caring people to work with. So thank you all. And we want to hear from you. Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, search team.
So you can find us, hunt us down, talk to us, call us. You can send an email to the search team. The email address is search@ucfnc.org. I think you can remember that, and that will get it to everybody on the search committee. So we'll hopefully be responsive, and thank you so much for your involvement and participation and all those things that we talked about. Amen.